Welcome back, everyone. I've summoned Joe Miller and Trevor Quickshot Henry to the analyst desk with me, and we're going to break down Rocat's win in our last game here versus SK Gaming. So guys, very first game on 4.11, and both teams adjusting and pulling out some new picks.
Yeah, so I think for me, the focus on mid lane bans was a little surprising. I didn't expect a Xerath ban. Overpower was okay on it against the Wolves last week, but I didn't think it was, ban worthy. Let me put it that way. But yeah, 4.11, some changes to the jungle. We didn't see massive changes in terms of the champions being played, but Yorick is up there, top lane Gragas, it's filtering through to Europe, which is something that we're seeing in many other regions.
Yeah, I totally agree with that as well. Really, that Xerath ban-worthy? I really don't think so. But in the end, obviously, SK thought that was a big threat to them. I'd like to see Overpower playing that a little bit more. If a team like SK really does feel that it's ban-worthy, maybe we're going to see some more Xerath out of Overpower. And obviously, they know something maybe that we don't, that he's been practicing that hard this week through.
All right, and then once we got into the game, we know a lot of times Roccat says, we're not feeling that confident, we're not feeling that good going into this one, but very confident in this matchup, running kind of a new strat for them with the double teleport, and just quite impressive.
So I was really impressed with how Roccat came out. If you think back 2 weeks ago, you mentioned it in the interview there with Zaz as well, that we talked to Overpower after they won a game, and it looked like they'd just lost 10 games in a row. The fact was they had no self-confidence about them. They didn't feel good as a team. And we even heard in the pre-game video they're playing to not lose right now, and I think that was a big factor for them. But we saw on a few occasions in that game, the one that comes to mind is where they got the 2 kills in the mid lane. They brought their bottom lane all the way from the bottom lane up to the mid lane to help them get the kills. Got a tower, got a dragon. Unfortunately, then they just backed off and ended up losing their own mid tower, which is something that we've seen teams doing less and less about. But this new confident Roccat is very much, well, a lot more like the Roccat of the spring split, and that's what they need to aim for.
Yeah, I agree. Just very quickly to add on, seeing Overpower an aggressive champion like Fizz is a nice change. We've seen the Xerath, we've seen the Lulu, which is a lot more reactive. Fizz, you need to create those opportunities, which he actually did. And talking about the dragon engages, Roccat actually fought for dragons in the pit. They've given up many dragons in the past, and our stats guy Tom was highlighting how happy and proud he was to see Roccat actually choosing fights, which again is just, it's just them leveling themselves up and performing more to what we're expecting.
Yeah, absolutely. But on the other side of the coin, we have, of course, SK Gaming going 2-2 in Super Week. Not something you might expect necessarily from a team that was first in the spring split, and also not showing a whole lot of confidence when it came to those engages in the game.
Definitely not. I actually felt like SK were running scared. I felt like they really didn't want fights that game. And if you look at the first 30, 35 minutes, they snuck some dragons, they snuck some towers, but they didn't look to start any fights at all. And it's because they couldn't. You know, Yorick doesn't offer a whole lot in teamfight presence. Syndra is very reliant on catching people out of position because she can get caught so frequently, and same with Kog'Maw. You know, SK was so reliant on having perfect positioning. Because they couldn't have it all the time, they're just like, well, peace out, we don't want to fight. And it's unusual for SK.
On the other side, we did see some moments of good use, I guess we can say, of their comp from SK, where they were pushing down the middle, took the inner turret. We saw them picking off a couple of guys, making sure that they could zone people away from the turrets with what they had. But as you mentioned, they were quite far behind, and they didn't want, well, Roccat to play how you expected Roccat to play that comp, which is dive straight onto you and start the fights going. And as you mentioned, they just look very, very timid. And I'm wondering if this whole, we're not good at the early game, we always win in the late game, is maybe playing a little bit too much on their mind, and they're almost giving up the early game.
Yeah, maybe so. And for Rockat's side, confidence, as said, and when Jankos is on Lee Sin and he has confidence, something's going to happen. And we'll actually have a replay to show one of those team fights. Let's get that up on the screen in the mid-game where Roccat just exudes confidence all over.
So the most impressive thing for me regarding Roccat and SK's play is SK were trying to make a play on the inhibitor turret. You can see them pushing down the lane, and it's actually Roccat that are coming in from the side lanes. Even on gold, even on towers at 35 minutes. Let's roll this clip out. And SK Gaming just simply don't know how to react. We talked about how important positioning is for both Kog'Maw and for Syndra. And now that Roccat turned the aggression on and they pull SK's forces sort of to multiple sides, this is one of those Jankos plays that's definitely going to make a LCS big play moment. He sets Saliva up for an easy double kill. And everywhere on the map, Roccat are just converging on SK members. This was the skirmish battle that we've seen multiple times throughout the game. Roccat starting it, and because of their mobility and the damage that they had from their champions, they can chase and kite much better than SK could run away. They just won multiple team fights back to back.
And that was just after the moment that I was talking about where they'd actually got a couple of picks and managed to get the turret down. And if you look at the fight, and especially the guys in the mid lane, they moved back and forth 3 or 4 times before they eventually got caught out and were finished off. Just not a good game from SK overall, I think.
Yeah, and as you mentioned as well, Yorick not really doing what we think he would do and being that unkillable annoyance. And even though he had the first Essence Reaver in the game, not the best performance. Talk me through the build and how did you see work out?
So there's two things that, about Freddy's build that interested me. It was Chalice of Harmony as a very early pickup, and then obviously going to the Essence Reaver. Now, one of the reasons you see the Chalice of Harmony is because you need the mana sustain. The build path for the Essence Reaver doesn't give you mana. It does at the end, but not on the way up. So because of that fact, Freddy needed it to keep his sustain up and to keep his dueling in lane. The problem was he couldn't split push past Overpower. He won 1 duel, and then Overpower got a Void Staff and kicked his butt every time. And then he simply just had no presence. There was not enough peel or protection for his Kog'Maw and his Syndra. So Yorick would just stand there and everyone would rush past him. I don't think it was the smart choice.
And even later on than that, you had to have someone that was going to stop the Fizz. Of course, he has to be the guy that's actually got teleport on your team. And we saw what happened there. Fizz was far too strong for him, dove him underneath the tower, got another kill pretty much straight after that as well. And they just couldn't handle Overpower on that side. I'm still, I have to say, not 100% Yorick's biggest fan.
I don't know how many people are. Thank you very much, guys. We'll head back to Demon in the Fish Show for our next match right after Kautar tells us who the Copenhagen Wolves need to beat in order to avoid relegation.
Well, someone needs to go to relegation, and we don't want to go there, so we have to put someone there in our place. Gambit seems really weak at the moment, so it's definitely one of the teams that we should beat, one of the teams that we want to push down into relegation so we can get out.
And we're going to see if they can do that, because next up is the battle at the bottom of the table between struggling Copenhagen Wolves and the new faces of Gambit Gaming. The current head-to-head is tied between these teams, with the last meeting being in Week 6. The strange thing is, while the Copenhagen Wolves have been losing, they've never actually looked that bad, and that was kind of proven by their emphatic victory over Alliance last week.
It was a bit of an all-or-nothing strategy from the Wolves against the Lions, and it worked really well because they stole the red buff level 1, and they put Woolite in the mid lane against Froggen to try and shut him down. However, they tried to do the same thing against SK Gaming later in the same day, and it didn't actually work. SK Gaming were ready for it, they shut down the whole tactic, and it didn't work for the Wolves. However, one thing that's really been working is actually the roam they do with Unlimited. Early on, as a support, he roams around a lot, he's part of a lot of early kills, and as long as they get these early kills here, Copenhagen Wolves as a team will get some gold, because they actually only get gold from the kills. Objective-wise, they are worse than Rocket. They are worse than Rocket when it comes to Dragons. They only picked up 27. Again, Gambit, who they're playing now, has 44 as one of the better teams in the league, but not even the best team in the league when it comes to Dragons here. So it's something they really need to focus on. Normally, we see them group up early, go for the Dragon fight when they're way too weak, lose it, fall very far behind, and there's nothing they can do for the rest of the game.
Yeah, decision-making seems a little bit lacking on that part. Of course, Gambit Gaming, well, they have made some changes this week, bringing in 2 trial players to their top lane and jungle in the form of Kubon, who you may remember from Meet Your Makers last season, and of course Lolex, who substituted for Diamond in London.
So Kubon, he performed really well in the Challenger Series, actually, for, of course, MOM and also Loblin Shore. And he's a very consistent player, but he's not a player who just takes the team on his back and just solo carries the game. At least I haven't seen it yet. He might have improved a lot while playing in Challenger Series, and we need to see how he can perform here in the LCS. And then we have Lulex here, the Challenger solo queue jungler, very good mechanics. Very known for his Lee Sin, where he's played like 700 games of it or something in solo queue already. And he did actually perform well in London, where he played for Gambit. And only issue for me is, when you come in as a solo queue jungler into the LCS, into professional play, it is very hard to adapt. He needs to build synergy with Nick and the rest of Gambit, and he needs to figure out how to play against these professional teams as a jungler.
So with these new players, let's see if it adds a new dynamic to the team that has clearly felt something was needed to change. 4 losses in Super Week, everything was compounded by the fact they're now outside of the playoff 6th place spot. And that is unheard of for Gambit fans.
So we have to say it. Teamwork and synergy from the old lineup, it was gone. I mean, they didn't play as a team. Clearly they didn't get along. And they didn't really know how to get out of this place. I mean, Gambit themselves, they stated that Darren and Diamond, they were benched due to not being committed to improving the team synergy and not listening to the analyst of the team here. So there were some clear issues where Gambit failed as an organization. They had to make some changes here. So we have some new blood, we have some new mentality now from these 2 new players. They need to get it together very fast, however, because Gambit needs to pick up some wins if they want to catch on to Rocket and get into these playoffs.
Yeah, and we've seen some words from Diamond this morning. There's clearly no love lost between them, but he's wishing Genja, his only friend who he counts in Gambit, best of luck. We'll see how it works out for them, ladies and gentlemen. Let's check out the starting lineups for these teams. Over on the blue side, it is the Copenhagen Wolves. That means Youngbuck is in the top lane, Airwax in the jungle, Cowtard in the mid lane, Woolite as the AD carry, and Unlimited on support.
And on the red side, we have Gambit Gaming with Coupon in the top lane, Lulex in the jungle, Nick in the mid lane, and then of course Genja and Edward down the bottom lane together.
Well, before we get to the Rift, let's take a look at the voting over on LOLesports.com. According to those numbers, 61% of you think that this new look Gambit will win. I wonder how many of those votes came in before the changes.
I think we can say for sure it's impossible to predict how they're going to play now. I mean, 2 new players need to build up synergy and everything. We have Genji. We don't actually know how much he communicates with the rest of the team. Always been an issue. I have no idea how they're going to play here. I think they're going to come in, try and be a bit aggressive and just say, you know what, if we get a few early kills, we can try and just snowball the game and get the win. But if Copenhagen Wolves manage to actually move around them, rotate around on the map, as a new team, they might have some issues.
So put yourselves in the Wolves' position once again. Back in 2013, what would you do against Gambit right now? 2 new players. You'd assume team synergy would be a little bit lacking. Would you try and go for maybe an early comp to try and completely disrupt them? Or would you go for late game and say, late game team fights, these guys are going to be disrupting?
So teamfight-wise, you should have the advantage as Copenhagen Wolves. So yes, you can go for teamfight comp. I might just say early on, though, I'm going to sit on Coupon and just try and shut him down, make him feel uncomfortable up in his top lane as a new player, and get my own top laner very fed.
Well, let's see how it works out for them. Lee Sin banned out. No surprises. We just talked about Lolex. He's got, what, 600-700 games on that in solo queue. Expected that ban. Twitch being taken away. We saw Woolite 11-0-2 against Alliance on that champion. Fantastic match for him. Gragas taken away from that top lane along with Kassadin in the mid lane. Almost a standard still.
Yep.
Almost 92% ban rate.
And Evelyn being banned away as well. So 2 junglers gone. Might see an Elise first pick from Copenhagen Wolves here.
Oh, Yasuo maybe. Cowtard likes that champion, but Elise is going to be locked in, taking away that triumvirate of jungle champions. And that forces Lolex onto something different.
Yeah, so now you're actually looking towards the solo queue jungler. He might not have the biggest champion pool, and therefore you take away the big junglers in Evelyn, Lee Sin, and Elise. I'm sure he has something ready, however. I mean, it could be a Jarvan, it could see Vi. Rengar is back, remember? Could also be a pickup here for Gambit Gaming. We need to see exactly what he wants to play. This Morgana support doesn't really surprise me, because checking from Edward what he likes to play a lot lately, he really loves Morgana, like the rest of the supports here in Europe.
Absolutely. Pretty straightforward champion to play, honestly, Morgana as well. So, very straightforward, simple. Used to be, actually, one of the main top laners way back when. Used to be that big farming champion in the top lane that you could just never disrupt, never stop farming, tormented.
That's many years ago.
Hey, I've been around for a long time.
Was a mid laner too.
Was a mid laner as well.
Was a mid laner too.
Of course, we're going back to the Season 1, Season 2 days there. Lulu locked in for Nick. I'm thinking it might be Nick. It may be Coupon. We've seen a lot of top lane Lulus, and actually we were mentioning off air that Lulu has actually kind of become stronger in that top lane because everybody around her got weakened.
Yeah, so Jax and Kayle were both changed. They lost either some damage or lost some tankiness. Lulu just stayed the same.
The thing is, I feel like we've said this before in the mid lane.
Very true.
Everybody got lowered around. Lulu became strong and now ended up moving towards that top. Morgana, of course, as you mentioned, locked in for Eddie.
Yeah, so Morgana for him already. You have Wild Grove, you have the shield from Lulu, you have Black Shield from Eddie here. Might set up to something for Genja to play a late game hyper carry, and you just have these 2 champions just to protect him in these fights. Or we could see Nick maybe with a hyper carry in the mid lane. Could be Syndra, and you want to protect him now with Lulu and Morgana. Want to see what they want to play. They don't really give too much away so far because they're both very standard picks.
Well, think of that disruptive game they played against Alliance where they just destroyed them. Unlimited was on Braum.
Yeah, roaming around
alongside Airwax, causing a lot of problems. Looks like it's going to be Woolite on Lucian this time. That's going to take a champion away from Genja.
And honestly, he's one of the best AD carries to take away from Genja because he likes to play this safe style with Lucian. Now there's a Caitlyn left. if Genji wants to play it in this Braum pick here for Unlimited, he loves to roam around with it, and it's very strong to roam. It's actually one of the strongest supports at roaming around, because again, you also have your stand behind me where you can jump into your teammate if he's already going aggressive. You land your Q, you land your auto attack, you get the passive on them, and then you can just smack them down with multiple members, get the stun, and either force the flash or actually pick up the kill. So it's a very strong roaming support.
We should mention Braum has changed.
Was changed a little bit, lost some damage on his passive early on, and now also his passive is only 4 seconds now. You have 4 seconds to activate the stun. It was 5 seconds before.
Yes, it was 5. Yeah, it's down to 4. There could be Caitlyn for Genji. That's what we're expecting. It is the new icon for Caitlyn. Don't be fooled. It would make sense. I mean, obviously with Conwell taken away, Twitch taken away, there's like a lot of AD carries off the cards. Few available for him, but Aurelia maybe for Kubon in the top lane. It is a champion he played a lot of back for MYM, along with Jax, who of course took a hit in this patch. So it looks like he's going to have to fall back to Aurelia. That means it will be mid lane Lulu.
And it is actually a champion I've seen him carry games. I know I said beforehand he's normally a consistent top laner who doesn't necessarily solo carry games, but Aurelia has been one of the main picks for him to really do it on if he had to help his team carry his team out of bad situations. So it's a very strong pick for him, and also very important you get a comfort pick. Yes, he's played in the LCS before for MYM, but it's some time ago now. He's coming in here tryouting for Gambit Gaming. I mean, there's going to be some nerfs, so getting a comfort pick, very important. And Caitlyn, of course, you already have Lulu Morgana. You need something late game, which can really provide a lot of damage, because Lulu, damage-wise, won't be able to do everything you need from a mid laner normally, compared to some other mid laners who will blow people up. Lulu won't be able to do it, so she needs someone else, Aurelia and Caitlyn now late game, to do the damage.
Looks like it's going to be Ryze potentially for Kautar in the main lane. That would, of course, put Renekton in towards that top lane for Young Booker champion. He's played many times before up against an Aurelia, and they will get locked in. So we'll see how that works out for the Wolves.
So you have Renekton now for the early game power, and then you have Ryze scaling into the late game. But inside of Gambit here, I mean, it's such a good siege combo already with Lulu, with Caitlyn, with Black Shields. And then you just have Kubon split pushing by himself, joining in if needed. I mean, Gambit can really set up some nasty siege here. And on the side of Copenhagen Wolves, Ryze needs to use his ulti if he wants to clear the wave. And Lucian will actually have to do the same thing, have to use the calling. So if Gambit groups up early on and starts pushing down, it can be hard for Copenhagen Wolves to clear the waves fast enough, and they will be forced into team fights, or they will lose a tower.
Well, as once again has been shown, Jarvan's the fallback, 4th man that tries to sneak in there. Worked successfully, actually, a couple of times. We'll see how it works for Lolex. I seem to recall he played this in London.
So, no, he played Evil in both games, actually. But it was banned away, so couldn't really do anything. Impaler played it a lot in London. You can use it against Ryze, jump on him here, but late game Ryze is hard to kill. Still, if they want to lock down Kautar, can do it. Of course, Youngbok and Woolite both have the ability to dash out of the ult here from Jarvan. They can set up combo, go in with Jarvan, get Wild Growth, try and knock up some members and set the fight up here. But obviously, you want to get one of their big junglers, if possible. Forced to go back to Jarvan, see what he can do on it.
We'll see how it works out, ladies and gentlemen. Which one of these lineups do you think came out on top? Tweet us #CWWin or #GMBWin to @LOL Esports, of course, for the Copenhagen Wolves or Gambit, and we'll check in the results as we get into the game. So, how will this new look Gambit turn out? And you know, we talked about last week, we saw the sorry pictures really of Diamond hugging his keyboard after that 0-4 Super Week. We kind of thought changes may be afoot. There was been rumblings, discussions, rumors. But I was a little surprised, as were some of the players. We heard Chox talking about how she talked to the likes of Jankos, who looked up to Diamond. I was a little surprised to see Diamond going out there. Darian kind of thought may well happen, but Diamond I was very surprised by.
I agree. I mean, Diamond, while he didn't perform as we normally see him, he's still such a good jungler. He has great talent. He would be able to pick it back up here. But obviously, Gambit, they know best. It's their team. They knew all the issues here, and they figured these are the 2 members they have to replace or bench for now.
The Gambit management in the house. Coaches here, everybody here watching to see how this team's perform. Let's keep our eyes peeled on them. They're up against the Copenhagen Wolves, of course, who themselves are chasing low and hard for those bottom place spots. Copenhagen Wolves talked about how they could get into playoffs, and well, it's going to have to Gambit. They will have to fall victim to them. They're just got a reaction actually to the picks from Unlimited about Gambit.
Okay, that's weird.
Well,
I agree.
it was definitely weird.
Well, a good reaction. It was weird.
That was weird. I'm not sure what he thought was weird.
I think it was the Jarvan, maybe. I'm not too sure.
Oh, it was the Lulu. Apparently Lulu was weird. That's weird.
Yeah. So, anyhow here, Genja getting some poke onto Woolite, got a bit distracted by the graphic popping up on his screen probably as well, and took actually quite some damage. Woolite forced to now back away, and Genja playing aggressive here, and very safe comp.
Okay, I want to talk about aggressive Genja. I like seeing aggressive Genja. It's something we don't often see, but when he goes aggressive, it tends to work out very well. However, sadly, he generally always falls back to being passive Genja and just sits and farms, while the rest of the team, they're basically getting into a 4v5 team fight.
It's always the issue if you fall behind early. You want to farm, just want to get items, doesn't really want a team fight at all. And I agree. I mean, it's been an issue for Genja in the past. We have seen games where he goes completely crazy. He gets 10, 12 kills and just plays really well, and then the next game he does nothing. And it's just a curse of Genja. Maybe some new faces in. If they do well, they get a lead early, we could see Genja start playing more passive, more aggressive. Maybe he feels now it's time for him to really step up and be the guy to carry the team. He's the guy who's been the longest on Gambit now.
Well, Edward's in trouble straight away. Level 1 here. He's going to get stun locked up there. Has to try and get her out of that. Ignite goes down. The Copenhagen Wolves want to get the kill here. The passive will be back up from Unlimited. He tries to get the stun down on towards him. Can Woolite get the hits? Genja instead taking a lot of burst and could trade for the Wolves early on.
We have seen this. Last week, Edward did the exact same thing. He face-checked the enemy support, took a lot of damage, was actually forced to flash away. This time he saved the flash, but he took so much damage here. Genji as well took a lot of poke. So potions being used by Gambit because they had a very, very bad level 1 trade. I'm not really sure what the idea was. Trading against Braum, Lucian at level 1, where you also have to double tap from Lucian to get the stun onto a target. It is very, very risky.
Nonetheless, they have hit level 2 first, and that immediately puts the Wolves back because, of course, the experience was not being picked up. There we go. Level 2 for the Wolves. Lolax making his way down south. It looks like he's going to go north instead. Could try and go for the mid lane. Kautar's out of position.
It's very far up here with Ryze as well, but Airwax is nearby on Elise. He needs to come in and help him though, because Lulek's coming in here.
Lola's coming in. Nick's going to try and get on towards him. Can he get the Glitterlands down? Looking towards their own jungle, actually. Meanwhile, down the bottom, Unlimited sidesteps nicely on that Dark Binding. Genja going to get locked up. The stun comes in there. They're going aggressive. Dashing to the side. Genja goes down. First blood for Woolite. And now Eddie, he's being focused. There's the stun once again. He's going to have to flash away, but will he be far enough? Just about.
So we see how good this combo is here. Once you get the passive on from Braum, you saw Unlimited wait for the Black Shield to disappear, then he went in, auto-attack Q, and then he got double hit from Woolite. Instantly stunned Genja here. It's such a deadly lane. And we just saw it in action.
So, Kubon, the new man in the top lane. Let's see how it works out for him currently. Falling behind in CS. No surprises. He's up against the Renekton. Kind of got to play fairly passive and watch his mana count. Kautar teleporting back to that mid lane. Gets himself Tear of the Goddess early on. Goes straight away aggressive on Nick. But eats a quick Glitterlance for the privilege.
So Sven's gonna last game on Elise. He went Spectre Wraith as his jungle item. We actually see Airwax going towards the Spirit of the Ancient Golem, which of course builds from the new jungle item now. Quill Coat. Core tank. So he's gonna look still to get some tankiness early on. Won't be able to get Tenacity from Spirit of the Ancient Golem. It is gone. Gives armor instead now, and gives some, I would say, less HP early, but then later in the game you get more bonus HP because you get 25% bonus HP. So later in the game it's gonna give you more, make you more tanky as well.
Bon teleporting back to that top lane, gets himself a blade and a ward. Important note to that one, because we heard, of course, from Kevin in the preview show, if you didn't watch that one, talking about, well, I'll tell a lie. It was from Shox. It was a quote from Kevin talking about a 95% chance at getting a gank on Darien in that top lane. This time, Kubon, of course, now that man in that top lane. Who would you rather be in the position of? Going in the boots and replacing, or temporarily replacing, I should say, Darien or Diamond? You got to feel the pressure's got to be more on for the jungle.
100%. I mean, Diamond has been the best jungler in the world for some years by himself. I mean, he's always been a great player. A lot of people, or a lot of viewers always respected him because he's so good and so smart. He was always the guy inventing new things as well.
He was the captain of the All-Star team.
He was. I mean, replacing him is never fun, and there's going to be a lot of pressure onto you. Kubon on this top lane with some very, very big issues early on against Renekton, who is very strong in the laning phase, but still falling far behind in lane. Here's Youngbuck.
Falling way behind. We do see Youngbuck going back. Unlimited going aggressive. Trying to get on towards Genja. The stun's going to come out. It's Eddie that's going to get caught out. Airwax is nearby as well. Eddie's going down. And it's Unlimited this time with the kill.
It's such a good lane, Lucian Brom. You just go in, you land the passive, and you will get the stun, and you can just keep trading. And because, again, first of all, we had the level 1, which went in favor of the Wolves. Both players got, or both dual lanes got back up in HP, but then we just saw the next trade. Copenhagen was 1 hit, picked up a kill, and now another one, and going towards the Dragon as well. Nick is moving.
This is a risky play from the Wolves. Nick is moving in. Lolex is far close behind, and actually that's a lot of damage that the Wolves are taking. They're going to get forced away from this one. Glitterlance will get stopped by that Unbreakable. Well played, Unlimited, but they had to back away. And Gambit prevent the Dragon for now.
Yeah, so Kauta was actually back in base without teleport, so he couldn't join in, and therefore Nick could just move down after he pushed a wave and stop Copenhagen Wolves from doing the Dragon. Still they have 2 kills now in his bottom lane, and Youngbuck picking up some more farm up here in his top lane.
Yeah, actually the ultimate use from Kubon, puts a ward down, gives himself some coverage. Of course, Youngbuck has that dominance available. If he
just
wants to
freeze
pop his ultimate, freezing the lane as deep as he can. And Kubon was trying to force it back to the tower, I think, to try and reset it. Exactly what he's doing right now. You guys at home been voting. You still think Gambit are victorious here? Copenhagen Wolves, not a lot of faith from the fans right now. More importantly, maybe there's some faith in the new blood of Gambit.
So again, in this mid lane here, if Gambit doesn't manage to shut down Kauta and stop him from farming on this rise, he will become such a monster in this late game here. And Nick, while he tries to trade with him, Kauta just keeps picking up the farm. He has teleport as well. So if he gets out of control, we might see him do the same thing Ofa did last game. It was a bit easy on Fizz. Rice is a very strong teamfighting champion. But double teleport late game, we know how annoying it is to play against. We saw it last game. And Kauta just farmed by himself.
A blue invade coming on here from Copenhagen Wolves. They're moving in. Lolex is actually over at his red right now. This will be spawning in a couple of seconds time. Airwax is in position. We'll see if the bottom lane can try and push something.
And he's using the ward he gets from the Quill Code here really well to actually get some extra control of the jungle of Gambit. And Lolex moving in. Way too late. Gets the flag down so you at least can see it go down and can get the timer. But it is going to be a blue buff for Airwax. He's moving in by himself. He didn't even need any assistance. And his bottom lane was actually pushed all the way down and still managed to take the blue buff.
Oh, Nick getting caught out. Kauta using the ultimate. A quick picks coming out from Nick there. Managing to whimsy onto Kauta and take him out of the picture. Lolex coming around. They want to try and burn that flash, but what a fantastic cocoon there catching on him. He managed to flag and drag away though without burning the flash.
And we do see a lot of focus from Jarvan on this mid lane because they want to shut down Kauta, they want to stop him from farming. But Airwax is around every single time, and Kauta just been staying fairly safe, and level 5 only on Jarvan to level 6 at least, so nothing he could do if they actually got in a fight.
This time around, the Copenhagen Wolves look like they will successfully start and take the Dragon. No response coming out of Lolex. Lolex didn't have flash in that last fight. Oh, Warlight though, going aggressive on Genja. Genja's going to have the 90 caliber net over the wall here to get out of it. The Cullen not quite catching him. He was just blind guessing that Genja would go left. Instead, he went right.
So they got the Dragon at least, forcing Gambit to just back away and go back to this bottom lane here, keep farming. About a 10 CS. There's a mix between. CS lead 4. Woolite. Can actually recall to base, so he's going to lose the entire wave down here.
Speaking of recall into the base, you can see Coupon going back. He's now 20 CS behind himself in that top lane. He's going to have to teleport back in if he wants to try and get any of that back. Blue Wolf given across to Kauta in his mid lane. He's got himself an advantage building. Youngbuck going back to see what he built in towards. It is going to be Blade of the Rune King. He's heading towards where that Bilge of Water Cutlass, I get the name right eventually, is completed. Kauta popping the ultimate just to burst out the minions.
So it's something Youngbuck actually did in the Super Week, and he's been a big fan of Blade of the Rune King on Renekton. You get the sustain, and again you get the on-hit effects. With the Blade of the Rune King, we take 8% of current HP, and it works really well with his W, where you hit multiple times. Everyone procs on-hit effects. There's the whole idea behind it. It makes you very strong in these one-on-ones, but you will be squishy. And now Jarvan is here.
Youngbuck caught out here. They're trying to bait him in, actually. We're going to see there's the dominance. That's what they're waiting for. Lolex playing a very patient game here. Flag and drop comes through. Catalyst got in. Flash was already burned by Youngbuck, and Kubon gets the kill.
Great play. I mean, they were waiting for him to use the first dash, and then they could go towards him. He dashed away, and as soon as he flashed, well, easy peasy. You pop the ult from Jarvan, and you get the kill.
Fantastic play from the new members of Gambit, trial members, putting themselves in a good display. Right now it is the old guard that's actually in trouble down this bottom lane, Genja and Edward, as they are starting to lose out pretty heavily in this lane. You can see it's a 15 CS gap built up. Wallite's going to be quickly moved into a 20 CS gap with Unlimited even, of course, with that Targon's starting to put some damage down and take that CS as well. Ace in the hole, burnt out, and what a fantastic block from Unlimited.
Yeah, sadly he had to block it with his body, didn't get it with the shield. Still, Woolite actually going in Vintage as first item, so not looking to go Blade and really try and use the advantage he built up here.
Ooh,
Rest of
good
Copenhagen Wolves though, running down.
Yeah, good dart bind in there, blocks off Kautad. They do try to defend this tower as best they can, and they may well be able to hold it. You can see 3 members coming in, but while this is all happening, Nick's got himself an advantage in that mid lane. Kautad's a little slow to get back there, and that tower may go down. Gambit are going to hold this tower.
So Woolite actually is not hitting the tower. He wants all the minions, or as many minions as possible, to die. So he wasn't even interested in getting tower yet. Lowlex though, once again, Airworks really has his number in this game.
Yeah, he's putting a lot of pressure on towards him, and he's going to head off back towards the wraiths around the side. Nick going to get caught out by Kautad. Quick explosion on his face. Didn't go full on aggression. Didn't get close enough. Youngbuck now, he's caught by Kuban. Ultimate popped. He's going to go aggressive. He may get this one. Instead, just backs out and forces Youngbuck back.
Forcing him back. No teleport. He does have ulti, however, staying around. But Kuban is very healthy at this moment.
Yeah, that's confident play for Youngbuck just to return back in there. Meanwhile, back in the mid lane, Nick and Lolex were trying to catch on towards Kautad. He's got Airwax in support, also lowered down. We can see the 2 supports, Edward and Unlimited, trading as well around the tri-bush. Kuban, he's keeping this lane frozen.
So Copenhagen Wolves have actually put 0 ganks onto this top lane, even though they have Renekton to push the wave into the tower and then just dive onto him. Could be because the tower again does more damage now in 4.11, so it's a bit risky to do it. But they could have tried to punish Kuban up in his lane and not just leave Youngbuck by himself to farm, because Kuban is actually responding really well now and picking up a lot of farm as well.
90 caliber net catching on Wallite. That will slow this attack down, but it is the first turret out of the game going down for the Copenhagen Wolves. Lolex just going to pick up that red buff. There's 2 members actually stacking in this mid lane. They're putting pressure on Nick to try and take this tower down.
Lolex is doing red buff, so he won't be able to help him. So the tower takes some damage, and Kautad stays around trying to trade with Nick. Been catching up in CS. He was actually very far behind. Then Copenhagen also started roaming around a little bit. Didn't get some farm, and Gambit just stayed in the lanes and farmed away. So catching up here. This bottom lane, however, is very, very annoying for Gambit to deal with.
Yeah, it's starting to tumble out of control. Airwax is going to back away this time away. They're not going to steal away the blue buff. That will be given across to Nick, who has been starved of that mana and cooldown that it gives him. To finally pick that up, he will do eventually. You can see the blue buff now on him. So this bottom lane pairing, what are they going to do? Because Infinity Edge is almost completed by Wallite. He's got a 30 CS lead built up over Genja on Caitlyn, who should be pretty strong early on. And now is actually going to be at the weaker point of his game.
Yeah, it's a big issue. He was also forced to go back and only buy a pickaxe. Didn't even get BF sold on the first back, so things are not looking good for Genja. We might see the passive style now where he just wants to farm. Doesn't want a team fight for the next 15-20 minutes. Just sit back and farm, get his items. He needs Infinity Edge, he needs a second crit item afterwards before he can even start doing some damage, especially to someone like Youngbuck if he goes into his face. So we should be seeing the passive Genji here. And overall, they just had so many issues in the laning phase, and it's so hard again to play against the combo Copenhagen Wolves has.
Copenhagen Wolves move on force. We've seen this before. Airwax Unlimited moving as that pairing, streaming it around, getting themselves some vision. Dragon up in 20 seconds time, and the Wolves once again are trying to rally themselves into position. There's a couple of members missing right now though, and Gambit are going to try and take advantage of this.
But it's big issues. Again, the pickaxe from Caitlyn is the only item Genji has at the moment. He didn't back in time, so now he's forced to stay because the dragon is spawning. And he's against an Infinity Edge Lucian. I mean, the damage difference between the AD carries here is so huge. It's up to the rest of the members from Gambit to carry the team fight.
Yeah, this is not a fight Gambit should be taking, I think. For once, the Copenhagen Wolves are coming into this Dragon fight in full force. Unlimited takes a lot of damage from that Unbreakable. Flash was used, but the Cullen catching on towards the backs of Gambit will force them back in Shu. Youngbuck catching straight in there, going to drop on towards Kubon. He goes down. Youngbuck taking a lot of burst damage. Gambit going to try and turn this fight around, but they're now escaping as Kautar comes in, gets a big burst of damage. Nick wants to get his Glitterlands down on towards them. Unlimited taking so low. Eddie bounces in. Oh, doesn't quite catch the Dark Binding. Had Ignite. No, he doesn't have it ready to go. Instead, the Wolves, they're in danger. They're going to try and take this Dragon down. It's a risky one, but they should secure it.
Gambit, they shouldn't have been here. They shouldn't actually go for the fight when the AD carry is so weak at this point. Nick managed to get a 5-man Glitterland, so it looked okay for a moment, but they just didn't have the damage to finish off. Nick needs to be careful now.
Nick caught out. Wallite, of course, with that Infinity Edge completed, didn't quite follow through, and Nick speeds himself and shields, gets the hell out of dodge. Doesn't want to get involved in that one. Big advantages built up early by the Copenhagen Wolves in almost a 4,000 gold lead, just 16 minutes in.
And normally Copenhagen Wolves are the team to teamfight too early. This time around they're perfect comfort. I mean, you have Renekton so strong in these early mid-game fights. You have your AD carry being so far ahead compared to the other ones. So it was a good fight. Got the Dragon and also a kill. Now backing away, nobody wants to die here. Gambit very far behind. They need to just go back and try and farm up as much as possible. I mean, Genji, 2,000 gold now. Still needs more before the Infinity is completed.
And that gold advantage just give Youngbuck a Blade of the Rune King, whereas Kubon yet to complete that Trinity Force, so there's going to be problems starting to open up in that top lane. It's been the only lane that's been fairly close by. So, how is the new look Gambit this one? Pressure almost certainly on them. Question is, what language are they all speaking? There's 2 Polish in that team now, a French, 2 Russians. Well, actually, technically, it's Armenian.
Armenian. I actually asked Edward how the communication, shot calling was going. It is in English, but Genji doesn't say a word. So it's actually only 4 members talking. Edward is their main shot caller, and then Nick as well tries to help out as much as possible. And the 2 new members still trying to find their own ground here, and Genji playing by himself. With Edward falling, but doesn't actually say too much. Youngbuck might be in trouble here. Never mind.
Eddie coming round. Youngbuck, well, Darkbind is not going to land. He's going to try and get in to put their Soul Shackles down. Edward fancies this one. Lolex comes around. There is the Soul Shackles. The stun will come out. It's Youngbuck that's going to get locked up. Darkbinding not quite back off cooldown. Lolex doesn't fancy it because Unlimited's making his way up the river along with Kautar. Nick coming around. They're going to face themselves in towards that Tri-Burst. They're coming around the side. Nick quickly dodges back around. He will manage to get up there. It's a 4-on-4 on the turret
Look
right
at the bottom
now.
lane.
But the AD carries. Look down the bottom. Wallite pushing, taking down the inner turret. And the Wolves are happy to keep Gambit here because he can keep pushing on the inner hip turret.
And Genji now forced to run away because 2 members of Wolves coming back to this mid lane here, so they traded tower for nothing. The only thing Copenhagen Wolves had to use up in his top lane was the ulti from Youngbuck.
Very good positional play from the Wolves here. Starting to make their move in towards Gambit territory. And that minion wave, it's crushing up against that top inhibitor turret down the bottom. This is going to be the middle turret going down as well. And the Copenhagen Wolves now 3-0 up in turrets. Teleport from Kubon back to the top. It's going to keep and hold his turrets. The only one standing now in the outer lanes.
But the top lane tower is so low, Copenhagen Wolves can just send a few members up and they will be able to take it as long as they out-rotate Gambit, like they've been doing so far. And it's often what you see as well with teams where they get some new players in. Communication is there, where to move and where to be in the map at every single moment is just off. And we see Gambit getting completely punished by it.
Yeah, Blue Buff stolen away. Wallite will have that. And now they're going to move and defend that mid-turret area. Kubon, he's got the help of Nick. They're trying to push on towards his turret. Youngbuck is making his move. He doesn't have a teleport. It looks like Gambit will get the first turret of the game.
Yeah, and Kubon up here in this top lane actually playing really well. Picking up a tower, got the Trinity Force, survived the Renekton lane. He got some help from Lolex and Jarvan, but still, he's gonna be the hope here for Gambit because he's the guy doing really well. Where of course Genji needs a lot of time now to build up, and Nick on Lulu also been farming okay, but doesn't have any kills, so he's...
Oh, Lolex caught out. He's gonna get locked up there. Doesn't quite get caught out by the glacial picture of Unlimited. Doesn't quite lock him up. Instead, it does buy Copenhagen Wolves time to push on towards his middle turret. All 5 members now making their way as Youngbuck heads back across, and this could be another inner turret going down. The next wave will move in. Gambit are in position. Nick should be able to just about blast this wave out. Kubon, of course, with that ultimate. He's trying to use it. They're trying to use everything they can, but it's another inner turret going down for the Wolves.
I like the way Unlimited plays it. He moves in front of his own minions and puts up the shield to just stop all the wave there. Kuban not going in.
Kuban going very deep. Wild Growth trying to save him out there. Glitterlance does land from Nick, but he's got no mana to get involved in this fight. Youngbuck slices and dices his way towards the front line, but Gambit, they're in retreat.
Another weird decision by Gambit here. I mean, the tower just went down. Didn't fight under the tower because Mimbos had to run from base. Nick was completely out of mana. He could only use the Wild Growth onto Kuban, and he was done for the fight. And yet they actually engage onto the Wolves, who've just shown they're all 5 members there. Force Gambit to flash away. And even though nobody actually died, it just means Youngbuck now walks up to the top lane and takes the tower.
Yeah, he's even going to let the minions do it. He's going to take away all the CS he can from Kuban. He's not going to be getting involved in this one. Finally will finish it off with that last hit there. Kuban now coming up. Lolex is joining me in that top lane. Meanwhile, there's 3 members grouping, but it's going to be Youngbuck they dive towards. He flashes away. He's safe.
He's safe still. Trouble for Youngbuck, especially because he will play the Rune King. So he invested a lot of gold into being able to one-on-one people, and yet he's having some issues against Kuban. To be fair, there are multiple members from Gambit often coming up to try and help him. But it does mean he's more squishy now, Youngbuck, in these team fights, where we often see in NA at least, the Renekton just go full tank. Just try and be as annoying as possible in these team fights.
There's a massive, massive difference in AD carries right now. 8.3k on Warlight, and you can see he's got a stunning shift Infinity Edge with those Berserker Greaves, whereas Genja only on just below 6,000 gold with that Infinity Edge and single boots. And if they look to try and take this dragon, they are going to be sorely outnumbered in terms of items and power.
100%. There's no reason for them to go in for this fight. It's way too risky. They just have to back away, and they need to wait. It's a sad thing for Gambit, but they need to wait. Find time to farm. Because again, you are so far behind in items now.
Oh, Airwax. Tried to sneak around, Pink Ward gives him vision. Genja, dangerous, dangerous positioning from Genja. Not normally something we see. He's going to have to 90 caliber net his way through that forest area, and he will get around there. Top lane now. Do see Youngbuck continuing to put pressure up there. The Wolves now rotating in. They're going to move towards the top. This is the final inner turret available. Limited. Happy to take all that damage once again. Blocks it all up. Braum seems to be a great champion for him. Eddie, look at the damage and possibilities that can come out from Warlight there. Bursting him down. Meanwhile, Kuban now caught out. Lolex has to flash out with little to no health. Now with a minion wave moving in towards the top lane, that's surely the Wolves taking the final inner turret.
So the Wolves, they took full control of the jungle. Didn't actually place too many wards though in the Gambit jungle because they wanted to move straight to this top tower, take it down before Gambit's members who were forced to back could actually come in and help.
Solid, solid teamwork play from the Copenhagen Wolves.
Well, to be fair, they don't really have to do much.
Well, you can only play what's in front of you, and right now they're playing it perfectly. 23 minutes
100% agree.
in. You can see it's a, what, 8,000 gold advantage, 6-1 up. They are in full control of this map, and that's exactly what they wanted. They want to get themselves a win on the board, and Limited's going to try and lock on. Doesn't quite catch out. Eddie putting, of course, that Tormented Sword down the moment he would have had the gold tick on him. He knew people were there.
Notice up here, man.
Uh-oh.
Ulas being very aggressive.
He's dead. Edward's going to go down this time around. It's Kautar that picks up the kill, although Warlight did the majority of the damage. Youngbuck thinking maybe he could have locked on actually on towards Genja. Genja playing a tricky game off the side there. The Copenhagen Wolves are in full control. Gambit, I'm not sure what they're trying to gain from this, sitting around this mid area.
Well, they got the mid tower. The minions took it down because they pushed it on while Copenhagen Wolves were still in the jungle of Gambit looking for more kills. But the Wolves now just staying around this Baron, and down this bottom lane, Kuban with teleport, he needs to come up and join.
Yeah, he's going to have to join this one. There's no vision though, remember. Edward was taken down. They can't get in there, can't get the ward. Look at that gold difference. It's climbing higher and higher between Warlight and Genja. Never once has Genja been close in that race. Copenhagen Wolves looks like they're going to take themselves the Baron. Unlimited blocks all of the damage. Lolex desperately trying to slide in there. Kuban continues to take that bottom tower. Unlimited will get taken down here, but it doesn't matter. The Baron was taken nonetheless. It's a Baron and a tower and a kill for Gambit.
And just look at the wards on the map. Of course, Copenhagen Wolves, they got the lead, they controlled the lane, so they went in, they placed all the wards in the jungle of Gambit. They knew exactly what was going on and could just start up the Baron. There was very little Gambit could do once they really fell behind. By this time, if you move into your own jungle, the enemy team will see you and they will try and catch you out, kill you, like we just saw Copenhagen Wolves do. They did buy a few wards now, place them here. Once they go back to base, they need to buy a lot more wards. Just try and place them pretty much every entrance towards their own base through the jungle, so they can try and catch Copenhagen Wolves out of position. It's gonna be their only hope, but Kuban now still has a health potion, didn't actually buy a ward, Even though he has 490 gold on himself. So I hope he goes back now and buys a ward.
You know, Woolite, while being a young kid, just like Reckless, is really starting to become a big star in the Copenhagen Wolves team.
Yes, he bought a pink ward.
Game. He's been so aggressive as an AD carry. We saw it, of course, last week. Went 11-0-2 against the Lions. Very aggressive play, and we saw it this time against Genja and Edward. A well-respected bottom lane duo. Just went straight aggressive on towards him alongside the Limited, and started to really come into his own. Bear in mind, he was brand new in the summer LCS. Yeah. Of course, he was in the Challenger Series for a long period of time, and he's been known. And as a lot of people mentioned, he was the best AD carry available, and he's proven it.
And he's played against the Wolves in relegation for the Nile, where he played very aggressive as well. He was really the guy trying to make plays for the team. And now, Copenhagen of course picked him up. They need an AD carry. And they've been playing the lane really well. Him and Unlimited together, very aggressive, picking up kills, forcing Gambit away or forcing Edward and Genji away. We just see, I mean, look how far ahead he is in items.
Yeah, he is a monster right now.
He's gone, that's it, he's gone.
He's miles ahead of Genja. And Gambit, honestly.
It's like Germany versus Brazil. They're just gone.
Ooh. Well, we're in Germany.
Wait, we're in Germany?
Yeah, I know.
People should be happy.
People should be delighted. I know they certainly were here when I was out in the town with them. Anyway, nonetheless, I'm not sure Julio Cesar can stop this tower going down. Copenhagen Wolves are pushing on through towards it. Woolite going to put the pressure on towards it, gets a couple more shots, gets the double tap back down on towards it once again, and keep trading back and forward. Remember, these tower hits will get stronger and stronger. They are changed slightly in 4.3, the towers are slightly stronger, but it doesn't matter. When you're this far ahead, you can easily just go in trade, get themselves one tick. With that Baron buff, of course, giving you the health regen, they're quite happily to tank a couple of hits.
I should be able to take it down now, maybe look for the fight here, Genja. Got the Black Shield very fast. Now staying onto the inhibitor, Gambit needs to engage if they don't want to lose this one.
They don't need to get close, they can force back to their Nexus turrets. That's going to be one going down. Of course, this Baron's still got a minute left on it. Copenhagen Wolves are going to make full use of it. Kuban caught out in the top lane. He gets locked up and takes half his hit points. He has to go back to the fountain, and that puts it down to a 4v5 now on this turret. And Woolite's putting all of the hits down. Edward takes the Cullen damage straight on towards his backside. Of course, he doesn't proc off the stun that Unlimited has, but nevertheless, it does a lot of damage, and Gambit desperately fighting tooth and nail to keep this turret alive.
Copenhagen Wolves still with Baron buff, just staying around here, waiting to do the exact same thing they did before, or waiting for Gambit to actually engage onto them and just try and pick up some kills and force them away. They're so far behind in gold in this tower. At least they're getting some good wave clear now, holding off, still waiting for Genji here to skill up or get some more gold so you can catch up to Woolite, who's so far ahead.
The big minion wave at the bottom, again just going down to deal with that one. The moment he shows himself not there, you feel that the Wolves will go full on aggression. Gambit trying to bully them way through in this one. Genja does back away, he's the mid lane, super minions he's having to keep occupied. The Wolves once again step in, Lolek slide, that hits a good knock up there. It is the best engage they could hope for. Soul Shackle's going off, but they just don't have the damage to trade back. Genja gets himself one kill, Kautar though quickly trades back onto Kuban. The Wolves hold on, it's still 4v4. I'm not sure Gambit can last much longer.
We did see the combo though. Jarvan goes in, gets the Wild Growth, knocked up multiple members from the Wolves, but they just so far behind.
Out, has to cleanse himself, try and get out of that one as best he can. I think it was the McHales as well came out from Edward to keep him alive, and just about survives. The turret goes down. Uh-oh, this is Nick going down. He gets locked up. Woolite gets the kill on that one. They're going to slide on through. Gambit in all manner of trouble right now. The Wolves are not going to finish the game here. I think they want to back out and play it safe, but it is pretty much in their hands to win.
Playing it safe here. There's a lot of gold on the members from Copenhagen Wolves. Woolite around 2,600 gold at the moment. He's looking even stronger. Will they back away? Baron don't really need it at this point, so they don't have to wait for the Baron. They can just go back and shop, move up as a team once again to this top side, open inhibitor, and then if their mid lane respawns, just put down as well. Once again, force Gambit to start a team fight. They tried before, had a very good engage coming in, but just didn't have the damage to actually take down more than one member from the Wolves.
Oh, and there's a 4,000 gold difference between your AD carries. You're generally in trouble. That's a fact.
Yeah. Well, again, what we just said before, Woolite is so far ahead. He was, of course, the 280 carries I was referring to, my little Germany Brazil thing before. Because Gambit as a team at the moment, They just have to try and make the best out of what they actually have to work with. They're trying out these two new players. It's very, very hard. We saw it in this game how team-wise, communication-wise, Copenhagen Wolves look one step ahead, and they managed to take towers, take dragons, take the correct fights where Gambit, it was just overall very hard for him to do anything, and it's what happens when you have to quickly switch out some members.
The problem is, and the thing is, that Kubon did well in lane.
He did.
Traded even with the Renekton's top lane. Lonex did pretty okay against LX in the jungle. They had his one blue buff stolen away from him. Nick actually traded fairly even with Kautar. It was the bottom lane, old guard pairing of Genji and Edwards that lost out heavily to the Wolves. Look at Gambit, they're trying to set up. They want to make something. They may catch out Airwax as he walks wildly into this bush, gets caught out. There's the dart behind him, but have they got the damage to lock him down? They have, but now the Wolves will react. They're coming around the side. Gambit trying to catch on towards it. We do see damage, and you can tell Woolite is not with the team right now. Gambit have a good positional advantage. They could try and lock down Kautar, but instead, the Cullen being used from Woolite, knocking them down on health. Youngblood looking to maybe go in on this one. Instead, they want to lock in there. A good slow from Unlimited over the wall.
The Wolves looking to disengage, managed to back away here. We did see how important it is to buy wards, even though you're very far behind, because there's some good pink wards in the jungle here from Gambit, where they were waiting around and got the pick, and they're looking for more.
Well, Kubon tries to tank out all the damage. Wild Ghost gets popped. It only knocks up Youngbuck. He goes down too quickly. Soul Shackles was used by Edward, but he's just got melted by Woolite. Now they're straight on towards Nick. He's going to get popped off the moment he gets close. A very good Glitzer Lance from Gambit, but the super minions, everything else poshing through. There's been, I think we have seen the inhibitor respawn just in time, but Copenhagen Wolves are going to sweep on through and take them both down.
They just won this bottom lane, a massive wave as well. They can go there next, take the tower, unless Gambit moves out fast enough to try and clear the wave. Genji is moving towards it. Copenhagen Wolves as well.
No, he's going to get locked out if he tries to go down there. Nick instead tries to put a little bit of distance between them, but that tower's in trouble. It's already down to half health. The minions doing most of the damage on that one. That will fall. It's the final tower. Inhibitor will fall as well. Gambit, of course, just about respawning. Can they engage? Can they go in towards it? Lolex look once again looking for that combo, but Wild Growth is not available right now. It was used in that last fight, still on cooldown.
So the Wolves didn't actually take down last inhibitor. You can just wait now for super minions to pile into the base of Gambit and then push up the bottom lane. And if Gambit goes into a 5v5 team fight, their own base is just going to die to super minions. And the Wolves waiting around here. Gambit once again moving as a unit, just trying to look for this one kill to buy them some time.
Yeah, they were trying to make a play there. Copenhagen Wolves going to try and get caught out. Gambit desperation mode now. Unlimited locked up. It's going to be a flag just to give vision of the Wolves all backing away. They're fearful of the Baron being started off, and that's kind of what the Wolves are just trying to bait towards. I don't think they want to take it themselves. They're just trying to maybe create something.
They don't even need the Baron. They can just back away, recall, shop, and then go into the base and wait for super minions. Now they actually give Gambit a chance to try and steal this Baron.
Well, they're going to go for it. Let's see how they take it. Gambit are close by, off at the side. Unlimited once again running defensive duties, trying to block this one out. Lolex, that Baron is not low enough right now. It's still got 3,500 hit points, so he's not going to be able to smite it out. Youngwood's taken pretty low here. Nick comes around, puts some damage down towards it. Now the Baron's pretty low. Now it's going to go in. It's still got 700 hit points, and Lolex manages to get it. He also locks up just over the side there. Manages to flash out, but Gambit has taken a lot of damage. Kubon flashes away. Countdown comes on through. Locks down one. Woolite now. He's the damage dealer. He's going to lock on. Eddie flashes away. That binding back available. Super minions all over Gambit's base. They have to run back and defend. Youngbuck actually teleported down towards our bottom lane, and there is a giant stack of super minions taking down the Nexus turrets. Edward running for his life, trying to interfere, but the super minions are doing everything that the Copenhagen Wolves need. Gambit desperately defensive mode, but the Wolves will sweep on through and take down the new look Gambit. It has not worked out in this game. We'll see how it goes as the weeks progress, but so far the Wolves are looking great.
And they managed to force every single member from Gambit down towards the Baron here, so while they lost it, the whole idea from them was just buy time for super minions to come into the base. A little bit risky though. Credit to Lolex for actually stealing the Baron here in the very last minutes. Wasn't enough though. The Wolves can take a win, get some confidence and move forward. However, Gambit, of course every win counts for the Wolves, but Gambit is not the team they need to overtake. I would say if they want to get into the playoffs, they need to aim towards Rocket, who's now in the 6th place.
Well, they talked about how they needed to take down Gambit. They need to try and get that playoff spot, and they are edging ever so close to it now, and that, of course, will put them on even ground with Gambit now tied at the bottom of the table, or 7th place, I think you could say. Warlight there once again.
With his hat.
Another fantastic performance from him. Once again, finishing this time around 4-0-5, 11-0-2 against the Lions. He keeps on getting those kills, keeps on getting those stats.
Yeah.
Everybody with him in his fancy team must be very happy with the way the Wolves are playing right now.
So it was all about bottom lane from Wolves winning by itself. And then when it came to dragon fights, Gambit, even though they were very far behind, I mean, Genji had a pickaxe to Infinity Edge and Woolite. They went for the fight anyway, lost it, lost the dragon. Even more gold now in favor of Copenhagen Wolves. And after the first dragon fight, Gambit were like 4,000 gold behind very early in the game. And then we just saw Wolves take control of the map, take every objective down. I mean, they got every single tower down before they won the game.
Well, you said it yourself. They were coming into that last fight. I think it was the second maybe fight that they went into. Infinity Edge versus a pickaxe. It's not what you're going to win. Actually, it's normally the Wolves that put themselves in those situations. But this time around, they played brilliantly. Bottom lane dominated. Top lane, well, we knew Renekton would beat out Aurelia in the early game. Didn't allow them to get to the late game. This is what we discussed at the start of the show. Do you try and bully them early? You know, obviously a team that is inexperienced, not so much team bonding. They've literally been together for a week at max.
So what the Wolves focused on was basically just team fighting and rotating around the map and always be in an advantage, forcing Gambit into a bad situation. They didn't actually care about Kuban up in his top lane. There was not a single gank in the top lane. So it was just Youngblood by himself. And then Kuban, he got some help from low legs. They managed to get him going, so it was a good idea by Gambit and the two new members.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well,
they got some stuff going on, but the rest of the team were too far behind. They were too far behind in team fights and lost the game.
Yeah, and that Lulu pick, we heard already earlier on, Unlimited was a little surprised by it. They weren't expecting that Lulu pick in the mid lane for Nick. Of course, we've wondered about Nick's champion pool. Of course, he was a big Nidalee player. Nidalee was, of course, affected and is globally banned right now while the rework happened, of course, alongside Shed. What do we make, though? The new look Gambit, how are they going to respond?
They definitely need more time. I mean, they need to go back, look at the game, look at the shot calling as well. I mean, figure out how to move properly, how to move as a team. It's such a hard situation. 2 new members coming in, and even Nick is still fairly new in Gambit, so there's a lot of things for them to figure out, and they don't really have the time. Which is the issue. If they want to go to playoff, they don't have the time. They need to start winning instantly.
They need to get winning. We're in week 8 already, ladies and gentlemen. Shox and Quickshot are standing by with the Copenhagen Wolves Youngbuck. So let's check in.
Thank you very much, D-Man. Indeed, Quickshot and I are joined here by the victorious Youngbuck. Youngbuck, as said by the casters before the game, you really don't know what a team's going to do versus a very new team on Gambit then with those new members coming in. You guys going for champions that could be very aggressive early on, so tell me how you decided to play it.
We wanted to put a lot of pressure on top lane, and with the Renekton pick we were able to do that. It allowed Airbox to put a lot of pressure on the mid lane and bot lane, and especially the bot lane seemed to snowball very hard from it.
Well, it definitely seemed like you guys were in complete control of that game. And it's something that we haven't seen from the Copenhagen Wolves through most of the summer split. Was it a case of you guys playing very well, or was it a case of Gambit struggling with the new members? You know, try balance it out for me.
It's a bit of both. When you take new 2 members on just on a short notice, it's really hard to find synergy with your players, and we are very strong on this patch, I feel. I think we're benefiting a lot from the recent changes that have been made, so I'd say a bit of both.
Could I ask you to expand a little bit? What changes are playing to your favor? What is comfortable for the Wolves on 4.11?
Well, for me personally, the Renekton is back. I'm playing him a lot recently, and I found a new build, and I think he's the strongest top laner right now.
Yeah, I do want to expand a little more because obviously Jax had some changes and you know you love playing Jax as well. And then talk me through this matchup specifically on your beloved Renekton versus Kuban, someone you haven't played against on an LCS stage yet, going for someone you also like very much, Aurelia.
I used to play a lot against him in a challenger scene, and he was a very strong player, and he was known for his Aurelia. So I knew that he knew the matchup, and he was probably expecting it as well. He played very well. He knew when I was weaker, when I just had the Cutlass and no HP to counter him. So I had to survive a bit until I finished the blade, and then I could take advantage of my strength.
Well, actually, we do have a replay after you finish this blade of a 15-minute dragon fight. Let's pull this up onto your screens, and I want to ask your opinion. How is this handling from your side? Because you were in the middle lane as this started, and you do join in the fight a little later. Let's roll this clip out and talk me through the Wolves' communication and decision-making in this battle.
Okay, we knew we just finished a lot of items. Our AD carry finished Infinity Edge, Rod of Ages was finished. I just finished my blade, so I'm very strong. We wanted to fight here, and this just happened on the fly. We wanted a free Drake, they wanted to contest it, and we just decided to go all in for it.
Who's making the calls in this situation? Because you teleported into the middle of 5 Gambit members. That was a very confident play.
I think it was my call. I just said I'm teleporting in, and then my team knows that they have to follow up, otherwise I'm toast.
Well, it's good they did follow.
Absolutely. Talk me through a little bit of the strategies you guys are going for, because obviously you guys beat Alliance in such convincing fashion by going into their jungle very early, here very aggressive early again. But how will you be able to do that again? Because it always seems that after a couple of games, you guys fall back into that late game routine.
Yeah, we do have problems with being consistent. However, lately we've been focusing a lot on our team play and less so on mechanical skills. So hopefully we can show it and have more control over the games, better vision, and vision control in general.
It's definitely paying off. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, or probably are. You're now tied with Gambit, 5 wins and 15 losses, sitting at the bottom of the table, working your way up. You're also 3-3 in your last 6 games. So 50% win ratio is significantly better from the beginning of the split. How do you keep up this level of performance as we're only a few weeks away from playoffs?
I think the pressure has gotten to us in a positive way. We know that it's do or die right now. We have to win almost everything if we want to make it to playoffs. So seeing Rocket win was a little bit, but at least we're securing 7th place, I think, and hopefully still have a chance at the playoffs.
Well, you mentioned yourself, it's do and die, and just at this moment, we heard talk about Coutard maybe wanting to step down because he didn't feel that confident anymore. Talk me through the situation for the team right now.
Well, I think me, Coutard, and Unlimited have been playing, we've been playing a year constantly, and we've only had a 4-week break in an entire year. So at some point, a player can hit a burnout or something, and Coutard did request to have a substitute, and I think it will happen. We've talked about this with Coutard, and he requested it, so I just want to take this moment to thank Coutard because he's been a great teammate this year.
All right, fantastic. Well, I hope you guys find the perfect fit. Thank you very much. All right, now we're going to take a quick break and see how many points our fantasy team has. But we'll be right back with the Super Hot crew taking on Fnatic. Don't go anywhere.
Let's go, boys.
Genji gonna get locked up, the stun comes in there. They're going aggressive, dashing to the side. The counter goes down. Slipping, Lolek slides out. It's a good knockoff there. It is the best engage they can hope for. Soul Shackle's going off, but they just don't have the damage to trade back. Well, Kumon trying to tank out all the damage. Wild Ghost gets popped. It only knocks up Youngbuck. He goes down too quickly. Now the Baron's pretty low. Baron's going to go in. It's still got 700 hit points, and Lolek manages to get it.